check, 1, 2. What's happening? This is the Duff Show. Just, just got some new hardware. We're doing some recording, testing out the new hardware. I literally just downloaded OBS and hit record. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to see if I can get this camera pointed. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm going to change this angle just a touch. Oh, I forgot it was a touch screen. Oops. Oopsie daisy. Let's see what we can do with this configure video. Oh, wait, let me see what you're looking at first. Oh, hi. Hello. You are looking at my cabinets. Man, that's a pretty decent camera, I'd say. We're going to keep it like that because, man, the window decor on this is a little rough for the background. I'm going to have to change that. But we are rolling. We are up and rolling. My goodness gracious, what is this? Let me go ahead and move the studio over to this other window. There, that's a good spot for it. But yeah, I got some new headphones, so clearly they have a microphone. OBS is showing me that is working. Checkity check, 1, 2. That's the mic right there in a comfortable position for me, so I'm not hitting it. So hopefully you don't hear my mouth breathing. Hopefully you hear my voice a little bit. I'm gonna be checking this video clip immediately upon completion of recording this video. I think we're a little too bright, huh? Oh, we're good. Freaking good. Yeah, we're good to go. Keep that just how it is. So it looks like we're good. What are we, 3.5 minutes in? 3.5 minutes into the video, and man, that was a pretty quick video. Guess we're done. Guess that's the show. Okay, here. All right. No, that's not it. I just watched this video at school. I watched the video at school. Yeah, that definitely was not it. Gotta go to my home page. And I gotta find it. I go to my history. Here it is. We found it.
The vast majority of our electrical distribution
Kathy loves physics and history. That is who made the video. I'm I'll share the window before I head over to the thingamajig. It'll put me down here. Oh, my square. Look, I'm a square video. I don't think I've been in a square video before. It'll lean in real close to that super wide angle lens. You know what? We're gonna make me just big again, and we'll put the video somewhere else. All right, there's that, and now add the video. We got to add the video. We need to add the video. Hey, look, there it is. It just bonked right in just like that. That's what I like to see. Yep, that's it. That's it right there. We found it. I will make it big. And we'll put that behind me. And we'll actually make me fit the window. And then I'll... No, damn it. Did the wrong one. I made the wrong... Okay, that's the right one. I got the right one now. I'm talking about the video frames. I gotta... There we go. That's the video frame. But I'm gonna make me smaller and put me over here. There we go. So there it is. History of three-phase electricity and distribution. This is going to be a riveting episode of the Duff Show. You better stick around. Oh, wait. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go right on over here. Oh, wait. There it is. Can you see my cursor? No, I don't think you can see my cursor. I got capture cursor on there. Why are you not capturing the cursor? All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to hit subscribe. And then we're going to hit this bell. And we're going to hit that all option. And then we're going to drag the frame over so you can look at Kathy Loves Physics and History. And then we're going to read the title again. History of Three-Phase Electricity and Distribution. And then now we are going to hit play on the great Kathy. All right, Kathy.
Systems use three-phase electricity.
But
how does it work? How was it invented? And who invented it? Ready for the surprising but a little bit complicated story? And also to the answer of why some countries use 50 hertz and some countries use 60 hertz and one country uses half and half. Ready? Let's go!
Electricity, electricity, electricity,
electricity.
In order to tell the story of three-phase electrical distribution, I think I need to tell a little bit about three-phase generators and motors. And in order to tell that story, I want to talk a little bit about a guy named George Westinghouse and two-phase AC generators and motors, which arguably begins in April 1888. At this time, Westinghouse had been electrifying cities with single-phase alternating current, AC, for 2 years. But Edison had only really been upset about it for about 4 months, when a syndicate cornered the copper market, which increased the cost of DC which used about 3 times the copper in comparison with AC. However, Westinghouse had a problem that had nothing to do with Edison's ire. He didn't have a way to convert electricity that went back and forth, AC, to motion that went in a circle for meters and electrical motors. Westinghouse was initially mostly concerned with a meter, because if he didn't have a meter, then he had to charge a flat rate for the electricity, which incentivized people to use as much electricity as possible. Luckily, in April of 1888, an employee named Schallenberger dropped a spring near 2 pieces of equipment and found that the dropped springs started to spin. Within a month, Schallenberger had a working meter, and by August, they had a system on the market. The meter, which operated at 133 hertz, was very popular and sold 120,000 units in just 10 years. Now Westinghouse had an AC meter, but he was still looking for an AC motor, or something that could do industrialized work with alternating current. Then, a few weeks after Schallenberger dropped that spring, Westinghouse heard from another employee that employee's former professor, an Italian scientist named Galileo Ferraris, had created a new type of AC electricity and a corresponding AC motor. Ferraris's idea required a special generator which generates electricity with 2 separate sets of coils, A and B, at 90 degrees to each other. These coils are identical and electrified by the same electromagnet, so they have identical current induced in them with the same frequency. In fact, the only difference is their timing of their maximum value, or their phase. Because these 2 sets of coils have 2 different phases, this is now called a 2-phase generator. In order to make a 2-phase motor, Ferraris then connected the 2 AC currents at 90 degrees around the object that he was attempting to rotate, called the rotor. The AC current in the coils then induces a current in the rotor, and the force between the alternating current from the sets of wires and the induced current in the rotor is what causes the rotor to spin. Ferraris didn't patent his idea, as he didn't think it would work on an industrial scale. But Westinghouse paid him $1,000 for it anyway, even though Ferraris offered it for free. At the same time, May 1888, Westinghouse heard that a 32-year-old Serbian inventor named Nikola Tesla was demonstrating to the American Institute of Electrical Engineers a 2-phase AC motor and generator where the motor was powerful and could be used in industry. According to Tesla, this motor and generator were exactly the same as Ferraris's 2-phase motor and generator. Quote, Professor Ferraris not only came independently to the same theoretical results, but in a matter identical almost to the smallest detail. Nevertheless, Tesla owned the American patent for this motor and generator. And despite the fact that Westinghouse's lawyer thought the price that Tesla was asking was monstrous, Westinghouse felt that, quote, the Westinghouse Electric Company cannot afford to have others own the patents that are necessary to enable it to make motors to work on the alternating current system. Therefore, on October 1888, George Westinghouse paid Nikola Tesla and his company a whopping $170,000 for the motor, equivalent of around $5 million today, with a further $2.50 per horsepower per motor sold in perpetuity. This was an incredible amount of money, and in 1900 Nikola Tesla said, quote, had other industrial firms and manufacturers been as just and liberal as Mr. Westinghouse, I would have had many more of my inventions in use than I now have. However, despite pouring an extra $300,000 in trying to get Tesla's motor to work on an industrial scale, they couldn't get it functioning. Partially because Tesla's motor was designed at 60 hertz and Westinghouse wanted it to be at 133 hertz to match Schallenberger's meter. In April of 1890, Edison's spy sent him a gleeful note. Mr. Westinghouse has only one alternating current experiment, which is a failure, and Mr. Westinghouse has quarreled with Mr. Tesla, misspelled Mr. Tesler, who invented the alternate current motor. Despite not having a working industrial motor and being in a PR battle with Edison, Westinghouse's company was actually doing really well. For example, between 1886 and 1890, Westinghouse's company sales went from $150,000 a year to $4 million a year. Then, on November 15th, 1890, a bank in England collapsed and the economy in England and America went with it. Westinghouse had borrowed heavily to fulfill all his orders, and now his company was on the verge of collapse. The bankers were willing to fund him as long as they had a different manager, saying, "Mr. Westinghouse wastes so much on experimentation and pays so liberally for whatever he wishes a way of service and patent rights." Eventually, Westinghouse found banks that were willing to fund him and let him remain as the manager. But he decided to be more economical, so he stopped all research on Tesla's motor. However, even though Westinghouse's work on making a multi-phase motor and generator were stalled, there were others that were working on it. One of the most important, arguably the most important, was a 26-year-old Russian-Polish man working for the German company AEG named Michael Dolivo Dobrovolsky. In late 1888,
Michael Delibro Della. What? Let me go back. Michael Dolivo Dobrovolsky. Mikhail Dolivo Dobrovolsky. Dobrovolsky. Mikhail, the cringeworthy Russian accent.
company AEG named Michael Dolivo Dobrovolsky. In late 1888, a few months after Tesla became so famous for his two-phase,
I gotta give it to you, Kathy. That was perfect pronunciation. That was wonderful.
motor, Dolivo Dobrovolsky decided that, quote, Tesla's arrangement with two entirely independent currents differing by 90 degrees in their phases was not particularly advantageous, as the field around the rotor would fluctuate by 40%. Dolivo Dobrovolsky then
This video Kathy made is wonderful. This you showing all the highlighted texts and all the different writings of all these different individuals from all over the world and reporting the actual history right now. This is exciting. Well, I think it is. Just keep on sticking around and watch Kathy.
mathematically determined that three phases reduce these fluctuations to 15%. And he began building generators and motors that had three separate sets of coils. This is when Dolivo Dobrovolsky came to the remarkable conclusion that three-phase wasn't just better for motors, but it was a new way of transmitting electricity with 3 wires instead of 6. This trick is only possible because if you connect 3 waves that are all 120 degrees apart at any point, the total will add up to 0. In this way, you can basically ground 3 of the 6 wires and only need 3 live wires for transmitting electricity. This is very important because with transmitting electricity, the question is often how to lower the costs, which usually means how do you lower the amount of copper needed. With 3-phase power, you can reduce the amount of wire needed for transmission by 50%, and you can still use all 3 phases to power high voltage 3-phase motors. Not only that, but in August of 1889, Dolivo Dobrovolsky also patented 2 types of 3-phase transformer, called delta and star, or Y, for the shapes they make. With these transformers, the 3 phases can be safely transformed to higher voltage and low current for long distance transmission without much loss, and then transform back to lower voltages to be safely used. You might be wondering how Dolivo Dobrovolsky managed to light light bulbs with a single live wire, and the answer is he didn't. Instead, he used a single live wire to the bulbs with a return of a neutral wire, which is a wire that is created so that if the 3 phases are in balance, there's no current in them, but they can still complete the circuit. Not only that, but Dolivo Dobrovolsky also figured out his 3-phase motor was not very efficient, as it induced circular currents called eddy currents in the rotor, the part that spun, which worked against the motion of the rotor. To reduce the amount of eddy currents, Dolivo Dobrovolsky started to put a series of parallel slits in the rotor, which he patented in 1889. With these slits, the rotors start to look like large cages, and in 1894, the English scientist Sylvanus Thompson called it a, quote, sort of squirrel cage, as it looked large enough to hold a squirrel, I guess, and the name stuck. Squirrel cage motors are a mainstay in electrical engineering, and according to a textbook I found from 2017, Dolivo Dobrovolsky's designs from the 1890s are, quote, so perfect that they remain virtually unchanged for more than 100 years of their existence. Back in 1890, Dolivo Dobrovolsky's motor and transmission system
1890.
impressed an intense-looking man named Oscar von Miller, who was the technical director of an upcoming Frankfurt Electrical Exposition. Miller had initially hoped to use high-voltage DC powered by a generator at a waterfall. But the closest waterfall, with a nice cement factory next to it with a turbine they could use, was in Laufen, Germany, a full 175 kilometers away. Initially, Miller went to a Swiss engineer named Charles Brown, whose company had been experimenting with long-distance DC from hydroelectric plants. But after some deliberations, Miller decided to use the exciting new three-phase transmission system. So he brokered an unusual deal between Brown's company, Dolivo Dobrovolsky's company, the German government, and the cement factory to make this technological advance. Dolivo Dobrovolsky and Brown then created three-phase electricity with the generator powered by the waterfall in Laufen, then used the star transformer to step up the voltage from 55 volts to the startlingly high at the time, 8,500 volts, and then used only 3 live wires at that high voltage to the town of Frankfurt. This super high voltage was needed because they needed the thinnest wire possible. Shoot, even with 5 millimeter thick wire, they still used 60 tons of copper. Dolivo Dobrovolsky and Brown then used another star transformer to step down the voltage to around 65 volts, where they used it to electrify sets of lights, as well as a 3-phase 100 horsepower motor that powered an artificial waterfall. I love that.
Wow, now that is really cool. Just that was a real test involving the whole community to change humanity, to change the way that people use electricity. And what they did was copy what nature does, but further up the stream, like 100 some miles up the stream, using a waterfall to generate power to pump water back up to where it was coming from. Now that is very cool. Very, very cool, I think. That's Kathy, I love your video. Your channel is amazing.
They used a real waterfall to create 3-phase electricity, to transform it 175 kilometers away, to make a motor, to make an artificial waterfall. I just think that's kind of cool. This system, that most scientists believe would not work at all over long distances, made that impressive distance with 74% of its power intact, and was heralded as, quote, nothing short of magnificent. An account in the Electrical Engineering magazine beamed, quote, I do not think I am guilty of exaggeration in expressing an opinion that the Laufen-Frankfurt transmission is the most difficult and most momentous experiment made in technical electricity since that mysterious natural force has been made serviceable to mankind. This is the first electrical distribution system that in any way resembles.
Another fun fact about electricity I heard recently. I don't remember who said it to me. I think it was one of my instructors said electricity has always existed. It's only in the past 100 years, 130 years-ish now, I think, I'm probably off, but all these dates she's saying is 100 and some odd years ago. You know, electricity's always been there, and we're just telling it where to go.
resembles modern electrical distribution. And we still use three-phase delta transformers and star or Y transformers in this way to this very day. However, don't be confused by the fact that most of your household plugs have 3 prongs to think you're getting 3 phases in each plug. In reality, most household plugs actually only get 1 live wire, and the other 2 prongs are the neutral and the ground wire, or a wire connected to a large metal stick in the ground. However, Dolivo Dobrovolsky was not particularly adept at explaining the advantages of his system, and many people got confused between 2-phase and 3-phase, which all started to be called polyphase current. Another name coined by Sylvanus Thompson that we still use to this very day. In addition, apparently unknown.
I paused it to say something. Oh, yeah, that's where the biggest gap between scientists and anybody else lies is their ability to communicate what's happening to any other individual. Like you, the scientist, the inventor, you can have everything figured out all in your head and know exactly what you need. But if the communication skills of that individual are not that good, then I mean that's how good of a scientist anyone's going to be, is as good as they are at communicating the science to the next individual, to children, really. You got to be able to explain it to a child.
To Dolivo Dobrovolsky, his partner in this transmission, Charles Brown, jealous of all the attention that Dolivo Dobrovolsky was getting and 3-phase was getting, and penned an op-ed in October 1891 that said, quote, "The adoption of 3-phase current only increased the difficulties to be met, and all the real constructive improvements demonstrated at the Frankfurt exhibition were almost without exception due to him." In addition, Brown claimed that, quote, "the 3-phase current as applied at Frankfurt is due to the labors of Mr. Tesla and will be found clearly specified in his patents." Now you might be wondering what Brown was talking about with that last comment, so let me explain. See, it turns out that back in 1888, Tesla not only patented a 2-phase generator motor, but also a 3-phase generator motor. If Dolivo Dobrovolsky had known about Tesla's 3-phase motor, he might have emphasized that Tesla's had 6 wires, not 3, and the advantage of the 3-wire 3-phase transmission system. But he didn't, and instead focused on the advantages of 3 phases for the motor over 2 phases, which weakened his claim. As Dolivo Dobrovolsky did not speak English and Brown did, and the system was really so complex, many people started to believe that Tesla invented all of 3-phase transmission and ignored the influence of Dolivo Dobrovolsky.
Oh,
This
that's
all
not
might
fair.
have been sorted out in time if on May 20th, 1891, about a week after the fair opened, Nikola Tesla's backers hadn't pushed him into giving his first talk on his newest device, the Tesla coil. The Tesla coil was an instant success on a global scale. 3-phase could reduce the wires by 50%, but Tesla coils could light a bulb with no wires if held near the coil. The world went into basically a Tesla mania. And as an article for the Electrical Engineer magazine put it, quote, "No man of our age has achieved such universal scientific reputation in a single stride as this gifted young electrical engineer." It was at this pivotal time that George Westinghouse decided to reinvest money into making a 2-phase motor that worked on an industrial scale. Part of his motivation was that one of his engineers convinced him that 60 hertz could travel longer distance with less loss than 133 hertz. And another engineer named Benjamin Lamb claimed he could improve Tesla's motor's winding and make them work for industry. With an agreement from Tesla and his backers, Tesla's backers, by the way, owned 54% of this patent, Westinghouse was allowed to drop any per horsepower payment for the Tesla motor. And in late 1891, Benjamin Lamb was allowed to build his two-phase AC motor and succeeded in creating a two-phase motor that was industry-ready by the beginning of 1892, which, according to Lamb, was the first induction motor made at Westinghouse Corporation, which bears any close resemblance to the modern type. As the 1893 Chicago's World Fair approached, Westinghouse had a meeting about how to promote their new Tesla motors.
World Fair.
And Benjamin Lamb suggested that they make a fad out of...
That reminds me of one of my other favorite YouTubers, Mr. John Levy. On John Levy's channel, he talks about the World Fairs. Well, he has talked about them in at least one of his videos, and he goes very in depth about the World Fairs and what was going on there, and yeah, very interesting stuff. So another shout out on this reaction video to John Levy, Jonlevi. Go like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Kathy, man, this is like a professional quality documentary right now. This video is incredible.
Polyphase generators, quote, so that everyone would buy them, and the motor question would soon settle itself. Years later, Lamb recalled that, quote, instructions were given immediately to get out a standard line of polyphase generators and push them on any and every occasion. However, Westinghouse realized for the fair he had a problem. He did not have any powerful two-phase generators, and he didn't have enough time to make one. And he certainly didn't have any three-phase generators. According to Lamb, Westinghouse suggested they use two separate single-phase generators that were staggered 90 degrees apart as, quote, a step towards a coming polyphase supply system. With this bit of subterfuge, he actually even posted a sign at the fair that said that the fair was powered with, quote, Tesla's polyphase system. Westinghouse also invited Tesla to give demonstration at the Westinghouse Pavilion at the fair and basically promoted his connection to Tesla at every turn. Meanwhile, in 1892, the year before the fair, Edison's General Electric had merged with another company, and Thomas Edison was fired, and his company dropped his name and became plain old General Electric, or GE. Freed from Edison's prejudice against AC, General Electric went from a basically all DC company to one of the leaders of three-phase AC. According to Lamb, who became the chief engineer at Westinghouse, quote, there were two polyphase schools, so to speak, namely the two-phase and the three-phase. The Westinghouse company was known as the advocate of the two-phase polyphase systems, although it built both, whereas General Electric company was considered as favoring three-phase, although it also built both. After the fair, Westinghouse put a lot of money into suing companies for Tesla's two-phase and three-phase patents. In April 1896, Westinghouse paid Tesla $216,600 for all his multi-phase patents in a contract to be shared with GE, which basically left both companies free to do whatever multi-phase system they wanted to, and gave both companies, which basically controlled the electricity market, huge incentives to talk up Tesla's inventions and downplay Dolivo Dobrovolsky's. Meanwhile, Dolivo Dobrovolsky continued to work for AEG as their head engineer and helped his company become a leader of electrical distribution in Europe and Asia and Africa. As Dolivo Dobrovolsky experimentally
Dolivo Dobrovolsky. So Dolivo Dobrovolsky is the real hero
higher
of three-phase.
frequency caused more loss in the lines. He'd first used 40 hertz. However, eventually he decided it blinked unpleasantly, so he switched it to 50 hertz, where it remains to this day. Tesla, on the other hand, insisted on 60 hertz, where it remains in the United States and in countries originally supplied electricity by...
That's a pretty funny reason to switch the hertz. I don't like, he was like, I don't like how it blinks. I don't like how it blinks at 40. It sounds like all this work to, make sure things are working right, and all this money and time and to make a decision on the frequency, like just because it's not blinking the way you like it to. That seems hilarious to me, but like, maybe it was a joke, and that's why I did it. Who knows?
GE or Westinghouse. One of the strangest examples of this is the country of Japan, where Dolivo Dobrovolsky's company, AEG, provided the electricity for Tokyo in 1895 at 50 hertz, and GE provided the electricity at Osaka in 1896 at 60 hertz. And now the entire country is split in two, half at 50 hertz and half at 60 hertz. In 1914, World War I began. And Dolivo Dobrovolsky wisely decided that Germany wasn't a safe place to be for a Russian man and spent much of the war in Switzerland, where he dropped his Russian citizenship for a Swiss one. He returned to Germany in 1918 when Russia ended its participation in World War I as they were busy with the Russian Revolution. However, by then Dolivo Dobrovolsky was having heart issues and he died from heart problems in November 1919. The Germans, in the middle of losing World War I, weren't particularly invested in talking about the accomplishments of a Russian Polish man who abandoned them in their hour of need. And the Russians were pretty busy with revolution to want to honor a man who'd mostly accomplished things in Germany, had revoked his Russian citizenship, and hadn't participated in their revolution. And Americans were wholly invested in the idea that Tesla had invented all of polyphase current and transmission, as GE and Westinghouse owned those patents. Although Dolivo Dobrovolsky's death was remarked upon and people mourned his passing, there wasn't an acknowledgement of his accomplishments, which were varied. In conclusion, if you want to ask who invented the first three-phase motor and generator, the answer is clearly Nikola Tesla, who patented a three-phase motor and generator in 1888. But if you ask who was the first to demonstrate three-wire, three-phase electrical generation, distribution, transistors, and power, as well as the squirrel cage motor and more, the answer is different. Michael Dolivo Dobrovolsky. As Dolivo Dobrovolsky wrote in 1891, quote, "Though the scientific values of the discoveries of Professor Ferraris and Mr. Tesla must not be lessened, yet the merit of the practical working out and execution of the rotary current three-phase system is undoubtedly due to my company that brought the whole system to such a pitch of perfection." If you're wondering who figured out the science of why higher frequencies cause higher losses in the lines, and the scientist who made GE go from all DC to a leader in three-phase AC, it's another scientist who is not as famous as he should be. One of my favorites, the charismatic and quirky Wizard of Schenectady, Charles Steinmetz. And his story is next time.
Wizard of Schenectady. I don't have any idea what that is. Let's back that up real quick and see if Wikipedia tells us. Oh, it is a town in New York. And he's the wizard with General Electric. Very cool. All right, Kat. That was Kathy Loves Physics and History. Thanks for sticking around. If you didn't stick around, then obviously you're not going to hear what I'm saying right now. So that means I could say anything that I want about you, and you'll probably never hear it. And so with that being said, nah, I'm not gonna say it. But for those of you that are here, Thank you. We'll be back with more on the Duff Show in the future. At some point in the future. We're going to jump from now till the future once that future video is uploaded. But it's going to be in the future. We're doing it. We're doing it here on the Duff Law channel. We are time traveling to the future. And I'm going to talk to you in the future. Bye-bye.